Okay, I wasn't really sure if I was going to get an opportunity to do one of these this week. Unlike what a few commenters who don't like this channel and wished I would go away have kind of accused me of, I actually do have a real job and things that I have to do and bills that have to be paid and other things that go on in my life outside of making this channel. Some people have this notion that I hide in some room somewhere all day long doing nothing but talking about how much I hate AA 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even if I had plenty of money and plenty of free time on my hand where I didn't have to work and didn't have to pay bills, I don't think that would be that would be the actual thing that I would want to dedicate every hour or every waking moment to. But anyway, beside the point, I did get a couple of topics on mine. I had a couple of topics on hand starting out, but I didn't have quite all the information that I needed. For one, I was going to talk about the power of prayer and how it may not be as powerful as people think it is. But one thing that was brought up in a couple of comments not too long ago, and I actually got my printer working again today, so I do have a subscriber comment that I can read. I've been promising people those forever, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. There was something wrong with my printer, and I couldn't figure out what it was as far as changing out ink. I had to clean the inkjets, and that still didn't fix the problem. It was some kind of program error that I had to kind of just fiddle around with until I fixed the problem. Uh, but uh, but anyway, there was a couple of comments that was brought up recently, and it got me to thinking about how oftentimes I had to endure this in AA meetings. And I'm hoping some of you can share your experiences with this as well. Is that it was from an offhanded remark I made in another video where I was talking about these people who say, well, the reason so many people are dying in AA is because of these drug addicts. It's because these people aren't alcoholics, they're drug addicts. Even though according to every newcomer meeting, they will tell you that nobody can tell you if you're an alcoholic or not, that only you can decide if you're an alcoholic or not. But now they kind of have a criterion, a determination for who is and is not an alcoholic. After all, if you go to AA for a little while and you leave AA and you don't drink again, they'll either say you weren't an alcoholic to begin with, or they'll just say you were dry drunk and it's only a matter of time before you end up drunk again. For a bunch of people that claim not to be judgmental, they're very, very judgmental, and they pretend to know what people really think and what their motives really are and what they're really feeling. I never saw so many psychics and mind readers as I did in that room. Not to mention lawyers and doctors and experts about every single thing on the planet. Usually experts on things they didn't know anything about whatsoever, but that didn't stop them from talking like absolute authorities on everything. Uh, but I saw that also leveled at people that if an old timer didn't like someone, they would kind of in these hushed tones in those meetings after the meetings when they were busy running everybody down for not working the real program. Even though they say everybody works the program differently, that becomes very obvious not to be the case when you're in one of those dreadful, horrible meetings after the meetings. But they'd say, "Well, I'm pretty confident that that guy's not even really an alcoholic, even though I thought only you could decide." Oh, that's right. The book says an alcoholic may be if this, that, and the other. If you have little amount over the amount you take when you drink, you probably are. In other words, their fucking book of assertions and made up logical fallacies and bullshit that they all swear by like it's a holy gospel doesn't actually even ever get around to actually saying what it is. It gives a lot of hints. It gives a lot of assertions that you have to bow before some made-up higher power, and then it turns around and says you'll love God and call him by name, or that's in there 12 and 12 or one of those stupid fucking books. They kind of all run together since I've been out of it for a long time, but it got me to thinking about all the times I've heard people complain about drug addicts, complain about treatment center people, complain about people who came in via treatment. That's another thing they say behind your back when you're not around. If you came in via treatment, well, he doesn't know really anything. You see, when he got here, he was in treatment. There's a professed hatred for people who are in treatment in Quackaholics Anonymous meetings. I never quite understood that either. I didn't go to treatment actually until I had been in AA for about 4 or 5 years. As a matter of fact, I did a video about that, that when I was in treatment, I also encountered some hostility for the fact that I was just a heavy drinker or an alcoholic or whatever the term is. They're all made up anyway. The only current scientific term that's accurate is alcohol use disorder, but there were a lot of people when I was locked up in treatment and they were At the first treatment center I went to, I actually had insurance, and they were milking it out for everything that it was worth, and they were telling me that I was a very sick individual who needed all kinds of help. But the minute my insurance stopped paying, you got to go. Why are you even still here? I was asked that one morning by a counselor who told me that I really needed to delve deep because I was seriously mentally ill. And then the very next morning, they were like, why are you still here? Your insurance isn't paying anymore. In fact, I think they even tried to bill me for like the 30 minutes that I was there that morning. Um, but in AA meetings, I would see that a lot of the times. Well, a lot of you people, you're here because you're in treatment. You're here because you're in treatment. You know, it's treatment center people. Nowhere have they ever explained to me why that's such a slur against somebody. I mean, we're not living in the 1930s currently, and after all, AA helped through Marty Mann, who helped make AA an institution in the 1960s and 70s by buddying up to all of her friends in government. Uh, we're not living in a pre-period before that. Treatment is an AA invention. Treatment is a result of AA people worming their way into our legal system and creating a multi-billion-dollar industry that they all pretend to hate. But they don't seem to realize that without treatment, AA would probably die. If it wasn't for legal court orders, which they complain about frequently, AA would probably die. If it wasn't for people who are forced to go there by so many people, even though they claim that it's attraction, not promotion, AA would die. The one thing that it got me to thinking about, primarily my problem has always been alcohol, has always been booze. Outside of smoking some pot here and there, and outside of sampling some drugs at one point in my younger years, a few drugs that I'll never try again after having a few bad experiences under the effects of LSD, acid, and a few others, I decided never to try again. But my primary problem has always been drinking, heavy drinking. And but in the modern day world of today, is that an anomaly, or is that a general rule, or there's no way of really knowing for sure. There's no way of really knowing how many people are, have more than one addiction or are on a spectrum or who have done illegal drugs or whatever it is. There's no way of really knowing how many people out there really have an addiction to alcohol or not. After all, that's only something you can concede to your innermost self, even though AA members will judge you for this. But the funny thing that this brings up to me is, what if they got their wish? These AA gurus that whine about treatment center people and whine about people who were sent there via the courts and complain about people who are drug addicts and complain about people who have used illegal substances. What if they got the AA they seem to want? Because they seem to always go back to this romanticized notion of what it was like in the 1930s, which was largely made up and fabricated. So why don't we examine that for a little bit in this video, since I didn't have all my notes for the prayer video I wanted to do. Well, let's see, in the 1930s at the time that Bill W. and Bob put this together, Bob was pissed off at the idea of women being in the fellowship. Bill W. probably was too, even though it didn't stop him from preying on them and exploiting them like he did. I'm pretty sure that the primary organization creation, since it came from the Oxford group, which said Adolf Hitler was a gift from God, I'm pretty sure it wasn't open to every race and creed and nationality. I'm pretty sure that it was pretty limited in its fellowship to what they used to say in popular terminology. They may still use it as WASPs, White Anglo-Saxon Protestants, which was mainly the upper class New Englander type of guys who were running their own business and sleeping with their secretaries and doing that kind of stuff. And they would go into the meeting and they would say, my wife just will not stop complaining about my alcohol use. And they would all, sit around with their fucking nasty ass coffee and smoke cigarettes and complain about everybody. But let's fast forward all the way up to 2024 and see if that's still applicable today. Let's say you remove all the treatment centers. Let's say you remove everybody who has ever done an illegal substance, or just any substance in general outside of booze. There is that one thing in there, I think it's in there 12 at 12, where they talk about a strange alcoholic because he was doing other drugs. And I've heard different rumors about what those were, and I've heard different rumors about his character. But let's say you just pull it all out, everybody out who's not a upper class businessman WASP. Okay, you're going to take out the female aspect of the fellowship. You're going to take out the treatment centers. You're going to take out the drug court people. You're going to take out the people who are sent there by their psychiatrists, because after all, psychiatry can't fix nobody. Only God in the big book can do that. Except God in the big book is not interested in people who have done drugs. God in the big book is not interested in women. God in the big book is not interested in people of, say, a different sexual orientation or a different race. God, apparently, according to Bill W. and Dr. Bob, was interested in upper class business wasps. That's the only time the higher power pays attention to any of those. You know. So let's just say that you pulled out everything and just held it to 1930 standards. How many people would be in an AA meeting? How many businessmen in today's world do you know of, the ones who aren't in their spare time, when they're not robbing and cheating and stealing from everybody on the lower end of the totem pole, they're fucking over their workers by refusing them to give them raises or something like that? How many of them are going to go find a church basement somewhere and walk into it with a suit and tie on and say, "Hey guys, I think I have a drinking problem"? I'm going to say not very many. I'm going to say that if any organization like that was put together, it would probably be a very select organization and a very exclusive club private membership, with only a few people admitted here and there. Nobody from the outside, none of us disgusting proletarians, down here at the bottom, who actually are working class individuals or who may not fit into that mold. I'm sure we wouldn't be welcome. Now, the problem with having an exclusive little club like that is money. The multi-billion-dollar-a-year treatment industry couldn't survive on something like that, because the rich-ass billionaires or the rich-ass upper-class businessmen who would comprise that entire fellowship, who'd be willing to do a third step on their knees in front of the entire group, as they romanticize about in some of those meetings, they'd probably do that all in a very private club gathering, members only, One of those male bonding get-together things where everybody gets in a hot tub and bears their feelings, and they all do boxing on punching bags and stuff like that. And they do this weird, bizarre male bonding kind of thing where they all, after they're done, they all exchange phone numbers and decide which stocks they could steal the following day, or which people they could lay off and get away with, or what laws they can break, in their monopolies and trades and all that other kind of thing. But AA would be very, very, very small, which is what a lot of old-timers seem to desire. A lot of old-timers don't seem to understand the inherent contradiction in what they're preaching when they talk about, "I'm sick of these drug addicts. I'm sick of these treatment center industry people. Or I'm sick of treatment center people. I'm sick of people who are all into their feelings and crying and all that kind of shit when they're here. In here, we're not about feelings, even though I'm violently angry and upset for no reason whatsoever, and screaming and red-faced and slurping more coffee and lighting another cigarette. I just can't stand treatment." Well, let's say we gave them what they want. AA as an organization probably wouldn't be around very long. In fact, it would probably die tomorrow if we cut all these standards out and we allowed no treatment center individuals, and we allowed no people from different races and colors and creeds and backgrounds, as their own literature says. And if you took women out, half the sexual predators in those rooms would quit, because they haven't got an endless supply of victims to feed off of by those standards. Which is another contradictory aspect of AA. I used to see a lot of AA old-timers that were always complaining about the drug addicts, and they were complaining about the treatment center people, and they were complaining about people who were fresh out of treatment or in treatment. But it didn't seem to hold up a single one of them from rushing after some young vulnerable girl who had just gotten out of treatment, that had been strung out on heroin and not properly detoxed. In fact, it was almost like they would all make an eager beeline towards her, because they couldn't wait to get to her fast enough, because after all, young and vulnerable people are easy to target. And you having that old-timer badge and that 25-year medallion and your bullshit probably have a pretty unfair advantage in a situation like that. These are the very men that say they can't stand treatment center people. These are the very men that talk about how in the good old days, when it was a members-only organization, they seem to not understand what they're actually advocating for. What they're advocating for is this little elite group of people, members only, where somebody's willing to get down on their knees in front of the group and go through the steps with a sponsor and all this other kind of thing. Unless he relapses. If he relapses, they can toss him out to the curb like Bill W. did. It's in his book, Pass It On, where he says, or it's AA Comes of Age, where he says, You have no idea how much failure we had. That's not really a good sound advertisement for your group. You have no idea how much fucking failure I had. But millions of people fucking died before I could get a tiny little group of people that would buy the bullshit and help me get this thing off the ground so I could steal their copyright royalties when we were putting this book together. But it just seems funny that the organization talks about attraction, not promotion, and yet it can't wait to create some kind of hierarchy where the gurus are on top, where they can simultaneously mistreat you, tell you how they don't really want you there because you don't really want what we have. You're not really one of us at heart. We know you're going to fucking fail. But then they'll turn around and exploit you. They don't mind taking money out of, from their sponsees. They don't mind crossing every unethical line that they can cross with sponsees. And when the sponsees drink themselves to death or go back to using their drug of choice, they could say, some have to die so that others can live. That's an interesting thing that I think that I would put out this week before I stop talking for this particular video. If you drink yourself to death and die, they're not going to care. The very old-timer that you're trying to please by saying all the right things and trying to read the right paragraphs in the big book and trying to quote the right things in the meeting, if you die tomorrow, he's not going to give a shit. He's going to say, that's just what happens when people don't get the program. That's what he's going to say. And he's going to move on. He's going to move on to the next victim. Do you realize that if you're still active in AA or still caught up in that horrible, unending cycle of torture and abuse, you're actually formulating thoughts that are not your own. You're formulating thoughts based on what Bill W. wrote down in a book almost 90 years ago. Your life is not your own. Your life is constantly trying to please the whims of these assholes that dominate these meetings. And most of what you're doing, you're not doing for your own well-being. You're doing for their fucking ego gratification. They talk about ego. That's what they feed off of, is their little army of slaves that are willing to lick their boots and say, I want what you have. I'll do the step, and all that other kind of stuff, and to say all the right things in meetings. But they won't care about you. See, if you go out and you overdose or you drink yourself to death or you die or something terrible happens to you, think about this. How many meetings have you sat in with these assholes where they sit there and they say some have to die so that others can live? Do you think they won't do that to you? If you go out there and drink yourself to death, do you think they won't say the same shit about you? Do you think people who talk shit about people behind their back, do you think they're not going to do the same thing to you when you're not around? It's just interesting how this organization really thrives off of this idea of some people are more equal than others. Kind of like an Animal Farm by George Orwell, where he says, where the pigs write, all animals are equal, some animals are more equal than others. That's kind of how AA functions. They can demean you for being there via treatment, and then they'll claim that they just want to see if you really want sobriety bad enough, but that's not really what it is. Based on my observations of what it is, it's an organization where they can get their rocks off by watching people crawl and beg and grovel. That's the entirety of the program. This is the year 2024. We could do something better than this for people who have alcohol use disorder. And kind of like what I heard Burn the Stigma say in one of her shorts, we need to stop referring to people as drug addicts and drunks. And we need to stop referring to people, as sluts and all that other kind of thing. We need to remove that kind of dehumanizing language. You see, the Army, for a long time, if you look up, say, the history of Vietnam, World War II, or Korea, they always had dehumanizing terms for the enemies. It was a good way to dehumanize other soldiers that you were going to have to kill because you didn't really look at them as human beings. And that's kind of what I kind of feel like the language is here in AA when they refer to people as just a drunk, just a drug addict, just a fucking junkie, just nothing, Anyway, let's get that subscriber comment up for the week before I go. One of the most interesting aspects of the cult is how much terminology has evolved around real sobriety. Part of the bait and switch is how when you stop drinking, you're taught early in your step work how alcohol was but a symptom of our problems and that our true problems were somehow spiritual in nature and could only be managed through humility before a higher power. Because of all these additional criteria imposed on the person in AA about what constitutes real sobriety, zealous young steppers with a year or two of clean time can say that an individual with time, if sobriety has drifted away from meetings or disavows parts of the program as just being so dryety or just a dry drunk and just full of resentment. Even if that resentment is just towards AA itself, it's the height of arrogant narcissism. I totally fucking agree 100%. I sometimes get these comments on here, you just sound like you're angry at AA. Yeah, I'm angry at AA. Why aren't you? That's, to be honest, that's actually a question or a conversation or a discussion worth having the next time they say that to me. You're just mad at AA. Yeah, I'm pissed off at AA. Why aren't you? Think about it. See you guys next week. And if I don't get to make a video next week, I'll definitely have a shorter something up for you. Later.